Hey guys, welcome back to Criminology. The Earth is flat, the moon landing was fake, and UFOs exist. You might be thinking, Jocelyn, what the heck are you talking about? Well, think about what all three of these statements have in common. They're all deviant beliefs, which is exactly what we're going to go over in today's lecture. So, as a general overview, we'll first discuss what deviant attitudes and beliefs are with some examples. Then we'll talk about what conspiracy theories are and how common they can be. Next, we'll talk about a current example of a conspiracy theory floating around today. And finally, we'll go over some tips we can use to avoid getting trapped in believing conspiracies. Deviant attitudes and beliefs are perspectives people have that go against the societal norm. In the textbook, Good uses the definition, the expression of beliefs that are contrary to the views of specific audiences, one of those audiences being, of course, the mainstream. Now, can you be punished by expressing deviant beliefs? You might immediately think no, because we live in America where we have freedom of speech and freedom of religion, and you would be correct to a certain extent. However, this wasn't always the case. The book lists a few examples, which I have included here. During the Spanish Inquisition, many were tortured and killed for believing anything considered wrong or unacceptable by the Catholics. And during the Renaissance period, witches were burned at the stake because they were accused of blasphemy. Punishment for deviant beliefs was heavily present during religious wars specifically. Additionally, in the Western world, we may have the freedom of speech and freedom of religion, but that doesn't mean we're exempt from being judged by others. Think about how you'd react if someone told you that they thought the earth was flat. To add to that, did you know that being atheist is considered deviant in the US? Evidence from polls consistently shows high percentages of people believing in God, about 80% to be more specific. And within the religious sector, Mormons are considered deviant by most people, especially other religious individuals. So, what are conspiracy theories? It's a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful. Some examples include the moon landing being fake, COVID-19 being created in a Chinese lab and sent out to the rest of the world, global warming being non existent or that humans aren't responsible for it in any way, and that vaccines cause autism. The thing about conspiracy theories is that they include four specific components. One is a level of treachery. Two, the actions of the perpetrators are secret and they cover their tracks really well. Three, the supposed perpetrators are super well organized, that they even have people in high places helping them and pulling strings so that they can pull things off. And the fourth component, it's critical that people expose these perpetrators in order to protect whatever is good. Another important component that a lot of conspiracy theories have is called demonology. Now, I'm sure you can imagine what that means, but to clarify, it basically is a theory of evil that portrays people or figures as devils or demons. It's also necessary for you guys to know that not all conspiracies are false. Many of them are, but a few have been proven to be true. The quote, "just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean that people aren't plotting against me," really hones this in. An example of a conspiracy that was actually real was the Bay of Pigs invasion in Cuba in the year 1961. Our American government helped to train and supply Cuban rebels so they could overthrow the dictator Fidel Castro. The CIA had planned this since May of 1960. So it's important to make this distinction between a paranoid conspiracy theory and an organized conspiracy that's actually taking place. Let's talk about a more current conspiracy theory. So there's a supposed planet called Planet X or Nibiru out on the edges of our solar system. According to the conspiracy, with Planet X's orbit, it will eventually be on a collision course towards Earth and we'd be done for. There have been plenty of doomsday predictions before, though, such as the Y2K panic and the 2012 end of the world theories. With Y2K, people were afraid that 1999 would just switch to 1900, which could mess up a lot of systems needed for our society to function. Then the 2012 prediction was also due to the fact that it coincided with the end of the Mayan calendar. This was also one of the years people predicted Planet X would either pass or collide with Earth. So going back to the demonology concept, who or what would be the demon in this story? I think it could either be Planet X because people theorize it's headed straight for our destruction, or it could be NASA because they're lying or covering up the truth. Realistically speaking, this theory is based on pseudoscience, and there is little to no evidence of Planet X's existence. NASA scientist David Morrison stated, "If it did exist, it would have screwed up the outer planets' orbits long ago, and people have predicted its arrival before and been wrong." He has a point. It's now 2025, and we're all still here, so I don't think our world is ending anytime soon. Sometimes it can be really easy to fall into a conspiracy spiral, so I looked up some ways you could avoid that. You may think providing evidence and facts would help, but it doesn't all the time. Instead, you can ask yourself or others how they came to the conclusion that they did and what evidence they have for it. It's also important to learn critical thinking skills so you can distinguish mistakes made by human perception or logic. We must also support efforts to increase education and analysis. We should also learn how to recognize the differences between reliable and unreliable sources. And we should look at as many resources as possible when we're researching so that we're not just looking at one perspective. And finally, ask yourself if the information is objective and unbiased. If it's biased, that's an easy indicator that that source is not going to give you the facts that you want. So to conclude, let's recap. We first discussed that deviant attitudes and beliefs go against the norm or mainstream beliefs. Then we talked about what conspiracy theories are and how they can involve certain components. They can also involve some demonology or portrayal of certain people or things as evil. They can also be true or untrue. Next, we discussed an example of a current conspiracy, the Planet X doomsday theory, in which it's theorized to collide with Earth someday in the near future. And finally, we went over some useful tips we can use to avoid getting stuck believing conspiracy theories. As you go on living your day-to-day life, think about what deviant beliefs you have. Think about your reaction when someone tells you a deviant belief they have. And pay attention to any conspiracy theories you hear. Be vigilant and fact check something if it doesn't sound right. Thanks for listening, and until next time.